Well, one of the things that always troubles me and as a TV critic is when you get into a discussion of Dark Shadows, one of the things that people immediately come up with is today. Not so much 30 years ago, 20 years ago, but today. Now that the series is readily available on DVD and VHS and has been repeated as many times as it has, you get people immediately saying, well, all the mistakes, all the goofs which happened. And yes, there are there. There's no question that if you want to, but it's sort of like an argument. It's almost like a political correctness argument where you try to gauge something that happened in the 1920s by today's standards. People forget what television was like during that time. First off, most people weren't even watching it in color. Most people were watching it in black and white, even when it went to color. It was a grainy black and white image. And I remember watching it, and I remember not noticing the mistakes. When people started to talk about the mistakes was when they were seeing it in reruns and seeing it for the second and third time. So number one, you have the issue of what soap opera gets repeated. Dan's argument to the actors was always, nobody's going to ever see it again. It was a sound argument at the time. Who ever thought it would be? And who watches any soap opera from that era at this point? Does anybody watch reruns of As the World Turns or Guiding Light from 1967? And if you did, you know what you're going to find? A lot of mistakes. You're going to find it's just that this was the one that got repeated. So that's one argument that always bothers me. It troubles me. Secondly, another thing that even other TV critics don't understand was how ambitious Dark Shadows was for its time. How many standing sets they used. The fact that they were using chroma key. They were using special effects. They were using fire on the set. They were doing things that no other soap opera was doing. Most soap operas had 4 or 5 standing sets. Dark Shadows had this whole world and another world and a parallel world and the past. It was an amazingly ambitious show for its time. And so some mistakes occurred? You bet they did. This was on the run constantly. They were reaching for the stars with every single episode. And the third thing is that no matter how bad a mistake was, you show me the episode where you think this is some of the most egregious mistakes were, I'll show you a moment in that episode that'll just take the top of your head off. And I can remember that. I can remember a scene just going terribly where they were obviously lost. It was Jonathan and Grayson and the actor who was playing Dr. Lang, and they were kicking it all around. They were just butchering the scene completely. And the scene ends on a moment between Jonathan and Grayson, and they both just turned it on. And it was a moment where the two of them connected, and they made it just work, and you just forgot everything else. You forgot everything else in the magic of this moment and these two characters interacting with each other. And that's what Dark Shadows could do. It could turn on a dime and deliver a moment like no other soap opera would have delivered in television. And that's why we do continue to watch it. Anybody who says they're watching it for the mistakes or to laugh at it or something like that, that's not why people continue to watch it all these years later. They continue to watch it because something very, very magical happened in the course of the development of that show. And that magic, for all of how old it looks, how small the sets look, how cheesy the special effects look, somewhere, and you have to say it's in the performances, the magic still works. And that really is remarkable, that after all these, and I don't think you probably could take any soap opera from that time, and that would be the case.